Thank you very much. It's 5 Live. It's Tuesday. Good morning, Victoria, Derbyshire, with you until midday. The time now is 10:42. A dad of two who created a piece of software while unemployed has just sold it for around £25 million. Iain Dodsworth from East Sussex designed TweetDeck 3 years ago. TweetDeck helps you organise your Twitter messages on your computer screen or your smartphone so they appear in a structured way in really neat and lovely columns. More than 20 million people around the world have downloaded it, and 10% of all Twitter's messages are posted from it. But it's never made a profit. So let's talk to Iain now. Hello, Iain. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So does 25 million just drop into your current account?
I don't think so.
How does it work then? How do you get paid?
I don't know.
Oh, have you just signed a contract or something?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm still I'm reeling from the shock of it all myself.
Right.
It's, it only happened last week, and there's lots to be done, but it's been a kind of 2.5 year ride from me producing something in essentially on my sofa to opening an office up here in London, and having millions of people use that product, which was as big a shock to me as it was to anyone. And now we find ourselves here. I mean, it's an awful lot has happened in 2.5 years.
Yes. I'll talk, I want to ask you obviously about the motivation for designing the software, but just on your agreement to sell it to Twitter. So you agree to sell it, they say, okay, we'll offer you, I mean, did you barter them up, or did you just say, yeah, 25 million's great? Was that the first figure they suggested? How did it work?
Well, I mean, I don't really want to get into the ins and outs of it, but
go on.
Yeah.
Give us an insight. I mean, you're like loads of our listeners, and this has happened to you. So tell us what happened.
I think what happened is they being Twitter saw the value in the people that were using TweetDeck. And they're not a mainstream audience. They're an audience. They're a group of people that use Twitter primarily. They also use Facebook and some other social networks as well. And they use it in a slightly different way. They're super engaged. They're on it all day. We have an awful lot of journalists that use TweetDeck as well. And the value of that user base, whilst not enormous, I think became apparent. It's something that I think I've seen and the whole team has seen for quite a while, and at least for the past 2 years, we've not tried to get many tens of millions of people using this product, mainstream users. We've tried to get several million people using this product, but using it all day, every day, and they can't live without it because it's a quality audience. All their social media goes through TweetDeck. And I just think it's a slightly different play from a startup perspective.
Right. It
goes against the conventional wisdom. I mean, the idea is obviously to get hundreds of millions of people using your product and to charge them all. But really, the audience that uses TweetDeck all day, every day, they are influential. They have thousands of followers each. There's so much value there. There's no noise. These are the people that rely on Twitter, for their livelihood.
Yes, and obviously Twitter realised the value that you were adding to what they'd initially come up with. Hence, do they say to you, we'll give you 25 mil, or do they say, we'll give you 15 mil, and you say, no, it's worth a little bit more than that, because look at the influence of these kind of users?
So you're not going to let that particular question go then?
Oh, well, I will do eventually, if you're going to keep batting me away, but I'm just intrigued as to how it works. I mean, you're not a businessman, are you? You're an IT specialist. So when it comes to the value of something, how do you put a price on it?
I mean, I think I've always had an idea in my head based on the value of, what the value of TweetDeck is, but I think it's meaningless until someone comes along and makes you an offer.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Twitter did, and it was a very reasonable offer. I mean, I think it's a fantastic offer. Reasonable is not even close. It's a wonderful offer. And it's, I take, okay, there's obviously the whole financial side of it, but there's the other side, as in we've really created something of value as a team. This is not all about me by any stretch. There's a team of 15 people in London, who have done all this with me, and it's I think it's a testament to all of them.
What was the motivation then? Are you super organised in your normal life, and that led you to this, or not particularly?
I think I am. I think, yes, I'm probably annoyingly organised in that respect. But the thing for me is when I first started to use Twitter, which would be about 3 years ago, I actually found it quite difficult. You know, you go on to... at that time, I went on to twitter.com and used it as intended, you know, as a mainstream user, and found that I couldn't keep up with the flow of information. I mean, there weren't as many people then as there are now, so the problem's even worse now. But even then, just trying to keep up with the flood of tweets, it was too much. It was way too much, and I missed tweets from, you know, I would obviously follow, you know, people in technology, that kind of sphere, but a couple of my friends would also be on this service as well, and I would miss tweets from them. And I just thought, well, I need to go out and create an interface to Twitter. You know, not changing Twitter in any way, but just this is my version of it, because I need to take my friends and I need to take them out of this stream of information and put them in their own smaller stream where I can concentrate on them. And of course, doing that, you start to take more and more people and put them into their own little groups. And it wasn't, I mean, it was literally in the space of a few hours I thought, well, this just has to be a full screen application, which again at the time was a bit different because Twitter was more of a peripheral service, whereas for me, I was unemployed, I had nothing else to do, so I just sat on Twitter for about 6 months and tried to understand it. I wanted a big full-screen application on my computer, you know, also on my phone as well, whereby I could just look at everything in one go, rather than hiding it.
So across your screen, you have a column for your friends, you have presumably a column for IT specialists, a column of whatever else, but it's all organised, it's neat, you're in control of it.
Yes, it's very efficient, which is a little bit boring. I mean, it's not the most gorgeous application on earth.
It's very satisfying, though.
Excellent. I'm glad you find that satisfying. But you know, it's super efficient at what it does. You know, it's built to do one thing, and that's just segment all this data into columns that you define. No one else does. This is your TweetDeck.
We'll talk more in a moment, Iain. We're just going to bring listeners some travel news. It's 10 to 11. It's 5 Live. Here's Nick. Good morning, it's 5 Live, Victoria, Derbyshire, with you until midday. I'm talking to Iain Dodsworth. He's from East Sussex. He designed TweetDeck 2.5 years ago, and he's just sold it to Twitter for around £25 million. How do you think... I mean, you were using Twitter really right at the beginning. How do you think it's changed in terms of the information that comes through on Twitter in that time, Iain?
I think it's really moved on from the kind of stereotypical "this is what I'm having for lunch" tweet style that I think it's got a reputation for. Now you can see it. It's a news channel. It's the biggest news channel that potentially could be. I mean, I think it could be the world's method of getting breaking news. Obviously, apart from 5 Live, but it's kind of. I think it's a very interesting change. It's really moved on from the kind of noisy place which it first started to be, to now where people are doing that kind of noisy kind of tweet thing a lot less. You don't see half as much of it, and you know they're really getting live news. They're really communicating with other people. You see so many more brands on Twitter now as well. The thing that I love seeing, both on US television and on UK television, is you start to see hashtags. So that people can, watch live television and talk about it. You know, it's this conversation that's going on in the background. It's this back channel that never stops. I think it has a long way to go as well. I mean, but yeah, just to answer that question, I think that the change has been phenomenal. It shows you how potentially powerful this could be.
In terms of it becoming a news feed, as a user, you have to be careful about the kind of sources that you look at for your news, though, because we know from the injunction story lately, a lot of inaccurate stuff has been put out there, which people take to be the truth.
Yeah, but in no difference to the internet in general.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. But I just wonder if there's something about Twitter that means that some people think it's more likely to be true than just some chat forum.
Well, I mean, I think as well, the thing that is interesting, it goes back to how these brands are coming onto Twitter more and more, is that if you're following a BBC News feed or you're following a CNN feed or whoever, a feed that you trust, then you have that trust in it. You'll be fine, and you'll get the benefit of instant updates, which I think is the main element here, is this element of, just being very live and moving all the time. But, going forward, I think that's only going to solidify. Like the web, you don't just go onto an unnamed blog that you've never read before and believe everything you read.
Yeah. Why didn't you charge when people wanted to use your software? Why didn't you allow advertising on it?
I think we didn't. I've never charged and never had an intention of charging for TweetDeck, because it's a piece of software that, first and foremost, I built for myself to solve my problems. And going forward, it really snowballed and it really picked up a huge amount of users. And it's been a big research project more than anything else, rather than an out-and-out business and, we're going to get lots of users and then we're going to monetize everybody and essentially drive them away. That's a big fear. I mean, it's not a mainstream product, and that is good and bad in a number of senses. It's bad in some ways because we have a very astute audience for TweetDeck, or user base for TweetDeck. I know full well, because I like to think of myself as one of that user base. If I see lots of advertising, whether it's targeted, well or not, if I see too much of it, I turn off, and it's to the detriment of the quality of the product. And I went out and I was offered funding, and I raised funding for this company just so that I didn't have to, throw adverts at people and put them off. I wanted them to just use the quality of the product and not be distracted by anything else. I mean, you can't run a business for very long on funding without looking towards monetization, but I just think because this audience that we have, or this user base for TweetDeck, is so savvy, I think they are, whilst they won't stand certain low-quality advertising methods, I think they are kind of interested and enthusiastic for high quality. So we've thought about lots of this. We wanted to put in a column, like actually insert a column into your TweetDeck for a specific sporting event. So if we thought you were interested in the World Cup based on whether we know anything about you or what other columns you've got or what you generally tweet about, then if we were to put a World Cup column sponsored by brand X for the 2 or 4 weeks of the competition, that seems a little bit more sophisticated than just slapping a banner ad right in front of you and kind of distracting while you're there, which is obviously to consume.
Steve has texted to ask, why can't we get TweetDeck on our Blackberries? I don't have a Blackberry. Is that true? You can't get it on BlackBerry?
No, you can't get it on BlackBerry.
Right.
I've never... Well, we get asked this quite a bit, but actually, and I don't want to get too technical, it's not desperately easy for a very small team, even as we are now, to build products for the BlackBerry. It's not a wonderful platform for us to jump on,
right?
And we didn't have the skills in the team itself. The other kind of sense is that you can't do a TweetDeck on a BlackBerry. And again, we don't need to get into this in the technicalities of it, but TweetDeck itself is graphically very rich. Whilst it's not overly designed, there's a lot of columns, there's a lot of information going in and out. That's the beauty of the product, is that speed of data. And there's actually, you can't actually do that graphically on the BlackBerries that are out there at the moment. So we'd have to dumb the product right down from an interface point of view, not from the actual data itself, and it wouldn't be TweetDeck
for it to work on a BlackBerry. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to continue working for Twitter, are you?
Yes.
Right. So having been self-employed all this time, now you're beholden to a huge master. How does that feel?
It feels all right.
Does it?
And it feels okay because we're staying in London. We're the same team. We're working on the same products. Not the day-to-day running of TweetDeck, and the product itself doesn't change. And that gives me a lot of comfort.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Very nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Iain Dodsworth, who has just sold TweetDeck to Twitter for, let me tell you that sum again, a cool £25 million. He hasn't had the money yet, though. Doesn't know how he's going to get it. Instalments, lump sum, who knows? He's too casual about the money side of things. Anyway, it's 5 Live, and it's coming up to 11 o'clock Tuesday morning. The latest news and sport are next.
On digital and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.